Here we go. Beginner class, 1年生, first grade class. We have actually come this further. We have learned before the summer holiday the verbs, the basic verbs and present tense and future tense to make use of the knowledge. So you know the basics now. So we go a little bit further. So variation using this must form in verbs. What can we do? Why don't we blah blah blah? Like to invite other people. ませんかませんか Or let's do something. Let's blah blah ましょう Shall we or shall I? ましょうか Lots of things that you can do when you know must form, the basic form for verbs. Plus, we'll have a look at frequency adverbs, which is like to describe how often you do things. For example, よく、時々、あまり、全然. We'll see. Good. Well, let's start with reviews. Well, verbs. There were three groups of verbs, especially present tense. We started with present tense, which is must form. Ru verbs, u verbs, irregular verbs. Boom. Right. So, for example, 見る, you just drop る, replace ます、ません. Affirmative, negative. 見る、見ます、見ません. 食べる、食べます、食べません. Right? And u verbs. So, instead of dropping る, the consonant remains and you put u you replace u part with います、いません. So 話す、話します、話しません. To speak, 飲む, to drink, 飲みます、飲みません. Good. So other than that, they are irregular. 来る to come, 来ます、来ません. する to do, します、しません. Good. Did you remember all of them? Let's say some. Good. Well done. Well, we start with the ru verbs. So we have been using this example. アニメを見ます. You can put your subject if needed. 私はアニメを見ます. 見ます comes from 見る as the dictionary form. It's called the original form. To see, 見る, to watch or to look. And then アニメを見ます, which means I watch anime. And I hope you remember this can be future tense as well. I will or I'm going to watch anime. So it depends on the context. If you put 明日アニメを見ます, that will be future tense. アニメを見ます, that's it. That will be probably repeated habits or something. That what you usually do. Anyway, so we just focus on present tense here. How about negative? I don't watch anime. We just looked at the table. So I hope you remember. 見ます. How do we say negative? 見ません. Good. And here, today, 見ません plus か. What did I do here? Present tense negative verb, which is 見ません plus question particle か equals invitation. Well, logically, when you say か at the end, would it be like, don't I watch anime or don't you watch anime in translation? Well, magic happens here. Why don't you watch anime? Why don't we watch anime? Or like, will you watch anime? What do you say? We watch anime. Or like just invitation nuance. Usually. So that's what we are learning today. アニメを見ませんか? So when you say this, it's another question asking yourself, like, don't I watch anime? But it's more like inviting the other people or offering something. アニメを見ませんか? So negative present tense verb plus か. That's new to the first grade class, but we did it in the second grade class. So we're getting there. And then, do you remember? This is just a review from the last time. when I talked about there's a difference in English when you say coming, but we say going. So, are you coming to the Japanese class today? So this coming, in the question, if you're the teacher or the ones in the class already, 今日日本語のクラスに来ますか? Yes, I'm coming. This coming is 行きます, which means to go in Japanese. はい、行きます。Yeah, no, I'm not coming. いいえ、行きません。Right, so let's use this example to make the new sentence. Why don't we go to the Japanese class today? So go. 行く is verb. So let's have a look here. So why don't we go to the Japanese class today? Which is like when you're inviting somebody, you as the one going to the class together. So for example, you as a class member and maybe inviting the other classmate. How do we say this? 行く 行く 行きますか? That's the normal question. Are you going to? But then why don't we? So inviting instead of question. The pure question. So 行きません Negative present tense plus か. 今日日本語のクラスに行きませんか? 今日日本語のクラスに行きませんか? It's more like invitation. And to come, which is irregular verb, how would this sentence be? Why don't you come to the Japanese class today? So this is again invitation. So when you're inviting somebody, you as a teacher or the ones in the class already. So why do you come to the Japanese class today? Come, 来る 来る as a dictionary form, but in mass form or present tense, 来ます right? That's very irregular, but 来ます How do we change this into negative? Plus か to invite people. 来ます来ませんか? 今日日本語のクラスに来ませんか? Aren't you coming? Like, what do you say that you're coming to the Japanese class today? So this is instead of like, just are you coming? That's 来ますか? But why don't you come? Or like, aren't you coming? Will you come? And stuff like inviting them. And then we say 来ませんか? 来ませんか? And as I usually or often always mention, it's very important that you react, that you respond. Instead of like instead of silence. So when you're asked, why don't we go to Japanese class today? 今日日本語のクラスに行きませんか? How would you react? What are the options? Or I would suggest, for example, yes, I'd love to. You can say, ぜひ ぜひ I skipped the Romaji, the alphabet, so I hope you can read them. Sounds good. Sounds good. いいですね. いいですね. We'll practice later. I can't today. Not today. A bit and stuff. So when it's a bit reluctant, you would say, 今日はちょっと. So ちょっと, you might know this phrase as a little. A little. When you, for example, 日本語話せますか? Do you speak Japanese? ちょっと. So ちょっと means a little. But here, like in the context of like, oh, that's slightly not good today, and this like slightly thing. So when you say just ちょっと in a bit reluctant mood, that means no. You don't have to say no directly. You can say ちょっと and stuff. Right. Good. Well, you can also say let's, which is in Japanese ましょう ましょう the one we just saw. Why don't we or why don't you watch anime? Will you watch anime? What do you say that we watch anime? アニメを見ませんか? Negative plus か. When you want to say let's do it instead of like a question form, like why don't we, shall we and stuff. You say, yes, let's do this. You replace ませんか、with ましょう。見る、見ます、見ませんか、見ましょう、見ましょう。That's let's watch anime. Let's. So the same way, shall we not go to like, aren't we going, what do you say, will you, why don't we go to Japanese class? クラスに行きませんか? How do we say let's go to the Japanese class? 行きませんか? You replace it with 行きましょう。Why don't you come to the Japanese class? 来ませんか? And now you know. 来ましょう。Good. 日本のクラスに来ましょう。Please come. Let's come. Let's come. Why don't you just come to the Japanese class? You're just inviting other people to come to the class you're in. Right. When you put か, so this was it without か. ましょう. That's let's. So when you put か, there's just a slight nuance variation. So more like a question at the end. So the translation will be let's, shall we? That will be, I think, more fitting translation for that. So why don't you blah blah blah? Let's do it. Shall we? アニメを見ませんか? That was why don't we? But let's do it. Shall we? 見ましょうか。見ましょうか。日本語のクラスに行きませんか? Let's go to the Japanese class. Shall we? 行きましょうか。行きましょうか。日本語のクラスに来ませんか? Why don't you come to the Japanese class? When you want to say let's, shall we? 来ましょうか。来ましょうか。Good. That's it. And ましょうか, as I mentioned in second grade class, this can be also the phrase when you want to offer a help, which is like, shall I? Shall I do this? Shall I do that for you? 見る to see, to watch, to check. I mean to see things. 見ます、見ましょう、見ましょうか. So without these contexts, アニメを見ましょうか. It sounds like let's do it together, shall we? But when you say that only, 見ましょう, that would be I'll check it. I'll check it. 見ましょうか? Shall I check it? Shall I check it? So this context can be also used when you say ましょうか. So ましょうか, shall we or shall I, depending on the context. And again, very important response. When you're asked, shall I see it? Shall I check it? 見ましょうか. Maybe you heard some weird sound outside of the window and then, shall I check it? Instead of you who's very scared and stuff. And when you want that offer, you say, yes, please. はい、お願いします. You can also say ぜひ、はい、ぜひ. Or はい、お願いします. No, thanks. I'm alright. No, thank you. I'm alright. いいえ, no, 大丈夫. Alright です. いいえ、大丈夫です. Good. And the plus, we wanted to talk about frequency adverbs. So again, this example. 私はアニメを見ます. I watch anime. How often do you do it? よく. 私はよくアニメを見ます. 私はよくアニメを見ます. How often? Very often. よく. How about 時々アニメを見ます. Not always, but sometimes. 私は時々アニメを見ます. So you can maybe see here that the adverbs, those phrases, are placed usually after the subject. before the object, maybe. Just like in English, right? How about here? あまり、あまり. And you see here's negative at the end of the sentence. 見ます that's affirmative, that you do watch. 見ません that's negative. あまり has to be always connected with the negative. So when you hear あまり, you can sense it, that's a negative ending at the sentence. In the sentence, I don't watch anime much. Not much. あまり plus negative. あまり. Last one. 全然。全然。全然。私は全然アニメを again, this is negative. 見ません。見ません。So ません、見ません that's negative, and 全然 which means not at all. Not at all. Good. That's it for today. Thank you for watching. お疲れ様でした。If you want to practice Japanese with us and meet your new classmates, you're more than welcome to join us. おかえりスクール